In this video, we're going to talk about Meta, which is using a new technique to track you, even if you're using a browser without cookies, or if you deny cookies, or even when you open a private window, the one called Incognito, We're going to discuss all of this in today's video, but first, leave a comment below. Do you trust Meta, which has already been involved in several privacy controversies? It seemed like things had calmed down, but now it's back. Leave your comment below. Do you use Instagram? Do you use WhatsApp? Do you use Threads? Do you use Facebook? Do you really trust, those messages, whether they're private or not? Or do you use it just because it's what's available, because everyone else uses it? Comment below. I want to know. Today, I brought in a specialist in the field. We are going to react to the news. And at the end of this video, I'll share his channel so you can subscribe. It's really worth it for anyone who enjoys this technical area of technology, okay? Shall we get started? 3, 2, 1, go. And now we're going to talk about localhost tracking, which is a new technique that Facebook and other Meta applications are using to track you, even in browsers that don't have cookies, or if you refuse cookies, or even if you're using a private browsing window to avoid tracking, they still keep tracking you. That's really incredible, isn't it? Let me explain it to you. This thing really is impressive. Why are they so eager for this, right? Because you know that nothing in this world is free, right? Why is it free for you to watch YouTube here? Because there are commercials running actually. That's where the value is. You watching the commercials and people are funding it, right? They pay YouTube to show you those ads. There's a very important saying, if the app is free, you are the product. Check this out. It's a strong statement, but it's absolutely true.
A bit of that money was involved. Nothing is free in this world. And then you go on Facebook, on Instagram, and in theory, you use it without paying anything, right? What are they getting out of this? It's precisely data tracking for commercial purposes, right? Well, let's understand how they do this here. What is this exactly, and why might it have violated GDPR regulations? Actually, GDPR, DSA, and DMA several laws in Europe and the United States could result in significant fines for Facebook. But I have to warn you that here we're only going to talk about the technical aspect of what localhost tracking is, okay? Because I'm also a lawyer, as you know, right? I worked in the technical field in information security, and I also worked and graduated as a lawyer, as well as I have my OAB license and everything.
I also practiced law for 11 years, so we're colleagues. Back then, the legal process wasn't even digital, right? Everything was on paper.
Although I no longer practice as a lawyer, so yeah, people here are saying they could get fined for I don't know what and all that. $30 to $164 billion, 32 billion euros. That's the fine they're talking about here. I don't know about that, okay? I have my doubts whether this really falls under the GDPR. But anyway, let's try to understand what's going on here. This news was suggested by William LF and several other people. Thanks to everyone who suggested news on our website, safecrc.com. It's safecrc.com, and thank you for watching our video. If you enjoy our content, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, okay?
Over there and here as well. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like because it's really important, and share your opinion. Do you trust or only use Meta's apps? Because you have to. And remember, even if you use a VPN, Meta is still tracking your location.
All right, so what's the problem you have here, right? Well, there's something in your browser called a cookie. It's a kind of a small data storage in your browser. So when the server communicates with you, it asks for the data from that server, and that way it can identify that the browser is yours, right? That's right. Every time you access this browser, you have this identification that's used by the server. For some things, that's a good thing. For example, you need to have a cookie to establish a session in the HTTP protocol, right? The HTTP protocol, which is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, didn't originally provide for sessions because it was designed to be a completely anonymous protocol. You would send a request, receive a response, and that was it. There was nothing beyond that, right? But if you're going to have a username and password and you're going to start a session, open a session in an online application and so on, you need to have a session. So some cookies are essential, but that same cookie technology started being used to track users across multiple sites. These are called third-party cookies, right? So it's not the cookie from the site you're visiting, but a cookie from a third-party site that's used, for example, for advertising purposes. Yeah, people notice that you visited several pages, like for example, bike sales and so on, and they conclude that you're looking to buy a bike, and then they start showing you bike ads.
That's the real true gold, right? That's precisely why I've always said that when a product is offered completely free, then you, the user, are inherently the actual product, right? So, for instance, you're on Instagram and suddenly a compelling travel product pops up. And why did that happen? Because on Google, which is a different company, you were searching for a vacation trip. You wanted to go to the Bahamas, for example, in the Caribbean. So you're there searching on Google, you're visiting some websites. Those sites have cookies. You click OK, great. Then when you go to Instagram, for example, you start seeing ads for trips, the Caribbean, and so on. Then suddenly you go somewhere else, maybe to Twitter or X, and there it is again, the Caribbean. Why is that? Because of the cookies. Our company provides online advertising services, right? So basically, that's the kind of service we offer. And for the product owner, it's excellent, right? Here, we're not looking at it from the user's perspective, right? You want to sell more, we run ads to attract more customers so they can make more sales. Or if it's a service, so they can fill up their schedule. So we provide this kind of online advertising service for doctors, lawyers, gyms, beach tennis, and at the same time also for selling physical products as well as online products like courses and mentorships. And what do the owners of these products want? To find the best customers. And these platforms, in this case, Google and Meta, what do they sell? They sell data. You don't exactly buy the data, right? But you buy the ads, and these ads attract the right people using the data they collect through this kind of technology, like Mark Zuckerberg. So, in other words, he makes a lot of money by selling your data, offering free platforms. Isn't that something? Now you get it, right?
Is this a violation of privacy? It kind of is, but let's be honest, most people aren't really bothered by it, right? Oh, it's showing you, yeah, bike ads. You kind of just ignore them, right? Or if you want to buy something, you take advantage and try to buy it. Sometimes there's a good deal there. I don't know, right? So, in other words, but there's a big complaint about this issue because the understanding is that companies end up accumulating a lot of information about people. There are some truly funny stories about this, right? Because we don't fully realize as human beings, we don't quite realize just how incredibly predictable we actually are in the end. We think we're very spontaneous, very inventive and creative, but in reality, we're actually super consistent all human beings. Everyone is more or less the same. We all work in the same way. Then when you take these internet algorithms and apply them to this, you get some really absurd results. There was that case, I think it was, what was the name of the company? It was Target in the United States, which is a very common supermarket chain over there. Here in Brazil, I think there are some Target stores. I'm not really sure, but I've never seen one. But over in the US, it's very common. It's a supermarket, just like here you have Extra, right? Or Pan de Açúcar and so on. Anyway, so Target used this kind of intelligence to notify customers and so on to detect new things, right? And then there's the story of a father who one day came to Target really complaining a lot. Target would even send like flyers to customers' homes with advertisements. Like, hey, we have a sale on such and so on. And then this father came in furious to talk to the Target manager. How dare you say my daughter is pregnant? Because you sent a flyer to my house addressed to my daughter saying, buy things for your pregnancy and so on.
Whoa, that's next level, huh? That one, Luke, that's a good story, huh?
Like pregnancy oil and baby formula and other related essential items and stuff.
Imagine your daughter is, well, she's your daughter, right? First of all, she's a woman, and there's this whole thing, not even about being sexist, but it's the father with his daughter, my little girl, Anyway, now imagine your daughter is about 16, still living at home with her parents, as is usually the case. And suddenly, like, some intimate products show up, like lubricant or even pregnancy stuff, So imagine the dad finding out about the pregnancy from a pamphlet. Can you imagine? Wow, that's a good story, huh?
My daughter is only 14. She's not pregnant. She doesn't even have a boyfriend. She can't be pregnant. I don't know what. The guy from Target said, no, I'm sorry. There must have been some mistake in the system or something. And he promised that took the girl's name out of their system and said, no, it's okay. Sorry for the... A week later, the dad goes back to Target to apologize the daughter really was pregnant. In other words, Target found out the daughter was pregnant before her father did. And why did they find that out? Because the daughter bought other things at Target, and typically they record everything you buy there and know the kind of things pregnant women buy. We are very predictable. Sorry to break it to you. You might think you're a really cool, very unpredictable person, very...
Comment below. Are you very predictable or not? Are you very spontaneous? Are you the complete opposite of unpredictable? Comment below. I want to know.
Outside the box, but no, you're totally inside the box. We all are. It's really easy to predict. So people get kind of freaked out by these stories and don't want this privacy issue, right? But again, if it's just to post ads for bikes or things like that, what difference does it really make? My fear in all this is the government using it to keep track of people like, I don't know, you becoming an enemy of the system, turning into an ANCAP that's not allowed, whatever.
The big problem is that the government in several countries wants your consumption data, right? I've already made a video about this. So, for example, Rodrigo is consuming a certain product. Like, let's take a look. I'll put it this way. I don't smoke and I just have my little glass of wine. But let's suppose, oh, Rodrigo is smoking a lot. Oh, Rodrigo is drinking a lot and so on. And the government finds out about it, you know? Besides knowing how much you're spending and where your money is going, on top of that, let's take China as an example. Sometimes a person gets a loan cut off, or you like open doors to a loan, or you can get a certain level of a job depending on your consumption, you know, because if you're drinking too much, you simply cannot have a certain type of job. Your children cannot go to certain schools. It truly gets to that significant level, you know? This can profoundly impact one's financial stability and future opportunities, leading to considerable challenges in life. And that's what the government in most countries wants to control you. But that's already, you know, anyway, we're heading in another direction. But just to add this little flavor to the conversation, right, to show where this could go, that's what I'm afraid of, you know. Selling bicycles, there's absolutely no problem with that. Anyway, let's get back to the story here, right? The problem is this. There have been several restrictions on the use of cookies precisely because of this fear of being tracked, of having all your information collected. You know, let's suppose, would you want your Facebook account to have all the information about every window you open on your computer, all of them, even those sites that aren't exactly recommended and so on, right? Only certain things, right? And so on. Or that Tinder tattoo where you're trying to find a relationship anyway, right? Just a reminder, I've launched the channel's membership club. Basically, at level 1, you get early access to videos. And I also reply to your comments with priority. But at level 2, in addition to all that, you get exclusive, never before seen videos made, especially for members. And you can ask me anything you want, what apps I'm using, which AIs I'm using to make money, my new projects, my opinion about your project, your channel, or any idea you might have, all right? If you're a level 2 member here in the club, I'll answer you, all right? Down below, there's a little join button with the different levels and their benefits. Take a look and see which one fits you best. Besides helping the channel grow, you'll get excellent perks in return, okay? It's annoying, isn't it? You know how it is? It's complicated. It could look bad, right? People want privacy, right? So in the end, there are a bunch of restrictions on these cookies. And well, the thing is, Facebook, Meta, they don't like that. Why don't they like it? Because basically the value they have is in this information they can sell to companies for advertising and all that. That's it. I have a question. I have a question for you all. Would you genuinely like to have an option, for example, on widely used platforms such as WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, let's say? A free option, but with extensive data sharing, which is exactly what happens today in a comprehensive paid plan where, let's assume, right, a paid plan where you don't share any data, right? You simply pay and then they don't have access to your data, nothing. Just like in the case of YouTube, for example, you have YouTube Premium and free YouTube. With free YouTube, they basically flood it with ads, which is obviously bad for the user. And in quotes, good for you as for those of us who make money from it. I have 12 channels, 10 of them monetized anyway, but I understand that there are a lot of ads. Or in the case of YouTube Premium, you pay and there are no ads. If there were a version like that for Facebook, WhatsApp, or Instagram, would you rather pay for a plan to have no ads, nothing at all, and not have your data shared? or would you prefer to keep it free? Comment below, because this is really important to me. I want to know. I want to know your data, because that's the real value of Facebook, of Meta, of WhatsApp, and in a way of YouTube too, and really all social networks in the end, right? So there's a constant struggle. So what happens then? One of the ways you can avoid this kind of thing is by opening a private window. Here, look, with this, you open a private window, this thing, and you can visit any crazy site you want without any problem, because theoretically, this doesn't record anything. It doesn't save my cookies. It doesn't know anything about what I'm visiting theoretically. That's a good word. In this private window here, or Incognito Mode H browser calls it something different, right? Here in Brave, which I use, there's even a private window with Tor, see? Private window with Tor. It connects with Tor here. Tor is kind of slow, okay? But it connects with Tor, so you're on the deep web, and the level of encryption you have here is really high and all that, but not even this kind of thing would solve the localhost problem they're doing here, right? Here, look, there's the localhost. Let me close this. It's the localhost tracking they're using here. So what's the story that Facebook came up with in this thing? Here's the thing. There's a more technical explanation for this, which I find more interesting, right? So here's what happens. You take your phone and you open the Facebook app on your phone, or the Instagram app on your PH on your phone. It's not the browser. You open the app. The app on your phone, this applies to computers too, right? When you close the app, its window is closed, but it keeps running in the background. So what does this Facebook app do? It would open a web port. It would act as if it were a server, right? A web server is typically an app. It's a big computer that's far away where you access the application. But the truth is that theoretically, an app on your own phone can act as a server, right? Of course, its capacity will be very limited, but it's acting there, listening on some ports and responding in this case. So just to make a theory here that definitely makes sense, right? You're at home talking to someone, your wife, your husband, your mom, your dad, your friend, and so on. You're talking about a topic, and then suddenly you open Google or Instagram or whatever, and an ad pops up for exactly what you were just talking about. If this has ever happened to you, comment below. To me, that's exactly what Ankav said, right, Peter? Basically, it opens a little door there, right? Your app is running in the background. It opens a little door there, and you've already given it access to the microphone because you record all your messages, right? So it's listening to what you're saying, turning that into data, and that data makes the ad appear. Isn't that crazy? It already makes you scared to use it, doesn't it? So then you go and cover the camera, right? Anyway.
Here, both Meta and Yandex did this, okay? Yandex is, it's like the Google of Russia, right? So what happens? You would open Facebook and Instagram, and then it would create a little server. They create a little server because Facebook keeps running in the background on your phone. And then whenever you go to any Meta site or any site that has Meta ads, that has Meta's advertisements, there's a script there that before checking your cookie and all that, it tries to connect to a local host server using exactly this service provided by Facebook and Instagram on the localhost. What is localhost? It's the address 127.0.0.1, which means the current computer I'm on right now, right? So look, my computer here doesn't have any server. I haven't started any server on this computer, so it doesn't connect to anything. But localhost is my current machine. So in other words, when you open the browser on your phone, it will look for a server on the phone itself on some specific ports here. Look, 1,258, 12,585, 12,586, 12,591, 127, 123,787. These are some specific ports. It looks for this service on the device itself, on the phone itself. And who responds? It's Facebook itself. In other words, the Facebook site, Instagram, or any site that runs ads that uses their ad as a little script that tries to connect to localhost. And since it's localhost, it doesn't even run into those restrictions you have when accessing external sites, right? Because there are a number of restrictions to prevent you from so that a site you load can't use JavaScript to connect to another site to fetch information, since that could indicate certain types of attacks. There are some attacks that work like that, but since the connection is to localhost itself, that's allowed. So it connects with Facebook and Instagram themselves, which are open in the background, and then Instagram says, oh, it's this person here. Here's their session cookie. Look, it creates a cookie for you and records everything you're accessing. So you went on Pornhub, search for sex with a horse. I don't know what else, whatever your kink is. Pick the craziest fetishes in the world. Your Facebook knows everything, my friend. I'm sorry to tell you. This was discovered, right? It's already working, okay? It's already happening, all right? Yeah, the ones who are worried now are, well, it could be that Meta gets fined because of this, right?
So what did you think about this whole story? Did you trust these apps? I never trusted them. I keep up with the controversies around Mark Zuckerberg, who isn't the only one. All these big tech companies, they want your data. Data is the digital gold, as we say. Anyway, but comment below. Now that you know about this, what do you think? Is everything going to stay the same or not? Are you going to stop using a certain service or use it less? If there were a paid service like YouTube has, YouTube Premium, would you pay for WhatsApp Premium, Instagram Premium, or Facebook Premium? Comment below. I want to know. I'll leave some recommendations here for you to keep watching with me. I'll see you in these next videos. See you soon.